Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
It's been an interesting week with good news and bad. To start off, Savannah Petroleum was able to announce that it has now completed the Seven Energy transaction. This gives Savannah a producing asset base to complement its Niger exploration and development assets, in respect of which it aims to recommence activity in 2020 with expected delivery of first oil from R3 East and a multi-well exploration drilling campaign. This was financed by institutions 2 years ago at 35p per share, and I expect to see the share price now start to work its way up from the current level of 26p. Reabold Resources and Union Jack Oil advertised upgraded potential volumes at West Newton in a pre-market RNS and spiked the early buyers. Union Jack slid down from nearly 30p to under 20p by the end of the week, and the coup de grace was delivered just after market close on Friday, when it announced that it is in the process of taking market soundings from investors in regard to an equity placing of up to $5 million. Investors are not happy and are hoping that it's not below the last placing price of 17p. More on what's going on here in the private blog. Reabold Resources announced a recommended cash acquisition by Geopark Colombia. Each Reabold shareholder will receive 19.21p cash per share. It's less than people were hoping for, but significantly higher than the 12.1p price at which the shares were trading before bidding opened. It's also a small profit for those who bought in the 17s and 18s over the last few months. The board undoubtedly tried for a better price. Directors and institutions were in much higher, but South America is not the best place to be right now, unfortunately. Anglo-African Oil and Gas reported that it has entered into a rig option agreement, but the rig might not be available until 30 March 2020. Unfortunately, November turned out to be the date for a rig agreement, not the rig arriving as investors had hoped. The problem for them, though, is that paying for the drill depends on Riverfoot selling shares at a higher price than now, and how does that situation come about? Slippery language isn't working anymore for these companies, and I see only one way for the Anglo-African share price, which is to decline further. I've been warning about this one all the way down from just under 20p, and the shares hit an all-time low of 2.4p on Friday. On a brighter note, UK Oil and Gas announced the successful completion of its Horse Hill horizontal drill. HH2Z is now being prepared for an extensive extended well test, which is expected to commence in the coming weeks, and I expect to see some impressive numbers being reported here soon. Sound Energy announced that James Parsons and Simon Davis have confirmed their decision to leave the company. This follows on from the announcement that the CFO is leaving and not being replaced. Last week's announcement was deliberately drafted to make people think the sale of the Morocco assets is a certainty. So it's the end game here now, and it appears they're trying one last ramp before lights out. Interesting developments at Savannah Petroleum. Requisitioning shareholders had an overwhelming majority at the general meeting. The old guard is out, and Fadi Khaloof now becomes CEO. One of the complaints against the old board is that the company has continuously underperformed, and the company's share price has not materially improved in recent times. The market capitalisation is £13 million, and net assets, including around $14 million cash, are nearly $52 million, so there is significant upside here. Echo Atlantic Oil and Gas announced an update on the initial analysis of the Jethro and Joe wells, and the share price more than halved. This is a prime example of why you should never fully believe any of these companies, and always take profits or de-risk. This is a permanent statement in the blog, and I really can't emphasise the importance of this enough. All I can say in this case is that it is inconceivable that Tullow Oil, and hence Echo, did not know it was heavy oil before the announcement. Remarkably, indeed shockingly, Gil Holzman's CEO was promoting Echo to private investors at a London South East promotional event the day before. If you believe people can be judged by the company they keep, then him sharing a promotional platform with Matt Lofgren of Nostraterra Oil and Gas possibly says it all. Coro Energy and Empyrean Energy announced that Tambak 1 well has been established as a successful appraisal of the Mako gas field. The interesting part is coming up for Coro and Empyrean, since their Indonesian well now will be drilled to a total depth of around 4,000 feet to test the potential of the Tambak prospect, which is estimated as having a mid-case prospective resource potential of 250 billion cubic feet of gas and a geological chance of success of 45%. The impact of this drill to date has actually been negative for the share prices of both companies, but perhaps an exploration success can galvanise them. On the subject of Indonesia, Barron Oil announced that it has entered into a non-binding agreement to acquire Sunda Gas, which owns the Chudich block offshore Timor-Leste and the Telen block offshore Indonesia. The vendor will receive 66.67% of Barron before the fundraising. There is no indication yet as to what type of financing they will do, for what amount and at what price, so we'll have to wait for the details to form an assessment. The shares are now suspended pending the publication of an admission document. Finally, there's been a lot of interest in the new private blog and some confusion too, so let's try to clarify everything. Currently, I record 2 podcasts each week, one midweek and one at the weekend, and I write a blog on Sunday. All these remain the same, unchanged and free of charge. The private blog contains the information which cannot be published in the public blog and podcasts due to legal constraints, and it also includes my actual trading ideas with full reasoning. It is sent out immediately by email as events dictate, so you receive the information immediately. There is a charge for the private blog, but I think you'll find the information within it is worth many times its cost. For those who are not familiar with me, I focus exclusively on small-cap oil and gas companies and know this sector inside out. I've been involved in the stock markets, both UK and US, since the early 1980s and understand exactly how the finance and promotion game works. I also have many years operational and corporate experience in the oil business, which enables me to see very quickly whether or not these companies are telling the truth. It's not investment advice that I offer, and if you want that, you should speak with a financial advisor. I share my comments on companies and the markets, and as those who follow the blog know, I'm rarely wrong about these matters. The subscribe link is on my Twitter page. Finishing off, news from all the other companies who made announcements last week is covered in the Sunday blog, and I'll be back midweek with another podcast focused on whatever interesting looking news comes along in the meantime.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.